Welcome to the Spinning Rock Podcast. Conversations for the curious, the seekers, and the builders of tomorrow. With your host, Utkal. May these episodes move you, challenge you, and remind you of your place in the story. Please, enjoy.
Welcome back, everyone, to episode 5 of the Spinning Rock Podcast. This episode, I'm going to do my week 1 picks. We had 2 games already. Thursday, we had the Cowboys-Eagles, and then last night we had the Chargers versus the Chiefs. And I made those picks beforehand, so I'm going to just go through those 2. And then the rest of my week 1 slate. So for Thursday, I did have the Cowboys +7, which did cover. Dak was on fire. He was throwing dots. They could have won that game, honestly, if CD didn't drop those balls. The Eagles defense definitely looked shaky. I did not have the Eagles going back to the Super Bowl. And that's because they lost a lot of pieces on defense. And I did think that Jalen Hurts' scramble touchdowns were pretty impressive. So I think their offense will be dominant throughout the year. Let's see if their defense can, Vic Fangio can have them playing well towards the end of the year. And I think they'll obviously be a contender, but I think they're going to lose in the NFC Championship game. So I did have Cowboys +7. And then last night I had the Chargers +3 versus the Chiefs, which also covered as well. That was a great game. Justin Herbert played as well as I've ever seen him play. He had more than 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had a 18-yard run to seal it. And Xavier Worthy got hurt pretty much in the first drive of the game. And Patrick Mahomes is trying to throw it to Tyquan Thornton and Juju Smith-Schuster. So Chiefs' weapons didn't look to be there. I think, obviously they'll be fine because they got Mahomes, who made some ridiculous throws yesterday. But it was kind of satisfying to see them lose twice in a row now. But, I think they're the big boogeyman of the league, so I think they'll be fine. And they'll probably end up still winning the division and being in the AFC Championship game. Chargers, on the other hand, I think they can do some big things this year. Omarion Hampton looked pretty good. Quentin Johnson could actually catch the ball. Keenan Allen looked rejuvenated. And Ladd McConkey was solid. So, and their defense looked pretty good as well. So let's see how the Chargers do the rest of the season. All right. Sunday slate. Starting with the 1 p.m. games. I have the Buccaneers -2.5 versus the Falcons. I'm just betting on the Buccaneers just being an overall better team than the Falcons. And, week 1's a little tricky because you do have some upsets. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons won, but I'm just take what I think of the Bucs and what they're going to be throughout the entire season and take them 2.5 over the Falcons. I think Michael Penix will need some, time to, get acclimated to the NFL. And I think the Bake Show delivers and the Buccaneers cover that. Second game, I have the Saints +6.5 over the Cardinals. I just think this is too many points. versus a Cardinals team who I don't really know who I'm getting. And I do know the Saints are probably the worst roster in the NFL. I just think this is too many points for week one, and I like them covering the 6.5. I think they still have Demario Davis, Cam Jordan on that defense, Alvin Kamara who can run the ball, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. So they do have some talent. I think they can, keep it close. And I don't expect the Saints to win, but I think it'll be a field goal game. Third game, I have the Patriots -2.5 over the Raiders. I'm being a little biased on this one. I'm a Patriots fan and expect the Drake May, Mike Vrabel era to start out with a bang. Christian Gonzalez is out for this game, and Will Campbell is questionable, but I think he'll play. I'm just betting that the Patriots offense is competent enough to score enough points against this Raiders defense, which is pretty suspect. I think the Patriots defense is good enough to, hold the Raiders to under 20 points. And I think it'll be a 24-21 game. So I'm taking the Patriots in this one. Might be a little biased, but I think they get it done. Mike Vrabel teams are tough, and I think that's the kind of game needed to win in week one. So I like the Patriots in this matchup. Next, I have the Bengals -5 over the Browns. I know this is kind of one of the ones that people would like the other side, especially with the Bengals' history of starting really slow. I'm just betting that since they played in the preseason, that the Bengals are going to come out and be a little bit better than they have been in the previous years. I think they cover this comfortably, and their offense puts on a show week one, and they win this game pretty easily. So I'm gonna go Bengals -5. Don't feel too good about it, but I'm betting on Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. So I like him. I like the Bengals -5. Next, kind of the antithesis of the last pick I made. I have the Giants +6 versus the Commanders. Here, I'm just thinking game one of the season, you never know. I think the Giants could win this game. They have an amazing defensive line. I think they're going to try to wreck this game, get a few turnovers, make it a little messy. Jaden Daniels year 2, a little more film on him. See if they can contain him a little more. Definitely like the Giants +6 here. I think they definitely cover. They might still lose the game. I think it's going to be a field goal game, but Giants +6. Next, I have the Panthers +3.5 versus the Jaguars. Don't totally love this one. I think I picked the Panthers because of the hook. I think the Jaguars could win this with a field goal, and I'd still cover, so I kind of like that. Again, week one, you never know what could happen. I think the Panthers could come out and surprise a lot of people. They have a pretty solid run game with Chuba Hubbard, and then they got the Cowboys running back from last year. His name is evading me right now, but he also rushed for 1,000 yards, so I think they have a decent run game. Let's see what T-Mac's all about. Bryce Young, year 3, I think he can be a little improved. I'm a little concerned about, going up against Brian Thomas, and maybe Trevor Lawrence is resurged as a top flight quarterback, but I do like the hook here, and I think the Panthers can cover the 3.5 week one. All right, next I got the Colts -1.5 versus the Dolphins. I just think the Dolphins' vibes are off, and I just don't like what's coming out of that locker room. They don't really exude the confidence that they had a couple seasons ago, where they were just, putting on a light show every week. I'm betting on the Colts to kind of make this game a little rough. I think they can run the ball with Jonathan Taylor and that offensive line, and kind of control the clock here. So I think the Colts will win. I think Daniel Jones can manage this game. And the Colts win, 8-9 games every year with Sean Steichen, and they have had Gardner Minshew and Anthony Richardson as quarterbacks. So I think they can win this game and probably should against the Dolphins. All right, the last game I have for the 1 p.m. slate is the Steelers -3 versus the Jets. Here I'm just betting on a Aaron Rodgers revenge game because I do think this game is going to be close, but I think the Steelers will win by a touchdown here. Not a Justin Fields believer. I think he's going to struggle throwing the ball down the field. I think he's going to have some incredible runs, though. I think the Steelers' defense is top 8 in the league, maybe top 5. So, let's see if Cam Hayward plays, but even if he doesn't, I think the Steelers beat the Jets week 1, and Aaron Rodgers has maybe about 200 yards and a touchdown. Not a huge game, but I think he has a chip on his shoulder for sure, and he wants to get a little revenge. So I'll take the Steelers -3 here. All right, starting with the 4 p.m. slate. I have the Titans +8.5 versus the Broncos. This is the largest spread of the week. I just think it's too many points. If you're giving me 8.5 versus any team in the NFL, it's hard not to take that. And I don't think the Broncos are on that level to where you can, say they'll win by 10 points against any team. So I do think their defense is pretty darn good, but rookie quarterback Cam Ward, he is giving me really good vibes, and I think he's going to be a pretty good quarterback in this league. So I'm taking the Titans +8.5. I think they might lose the game, but I think they'll cover for sure. Okay, next game, I'm taking the 49ers -1.5 over the Seahawks. I am a 49ers believer this year, with or without Christian McCaffrey, who might not play due to his calf. There are reports that he wasn't practicing this week, and he said he's fine, is going to play, but I think he said the same thing last year, and he was out pretty much the entire year, or he was out the entire year, but this is why they traded for Brian Robinson Jr., and Kyle Shanahan's run scheme is always solid, so I think they won't have a problem running the ball. I like Purdy throwing the Pearsall. Juwan Jennings got his money, and I just believe in their system. And Seahawks' offensive line is very weak, and Sam Darnold does terrible against the pressure. So I think if they get any pressure on him, they can, get a couple turnovers and win this game, covering that 1.5. So I like the 49ers here to cover and win this game. Next, I'm taking the Lions +1.5 versus the Packers. I just think the Lions are a better team. I think each of the past 3 years they've gotten a win at Lambeau Field. They just signed Jameson Williams to an extension. I like his big playability. I think the addition of Micah Parsons will obviously pay out throughout the season, but I don't see him making a huge week 1 impact. He got that epidural in his. He didn't get epidural. He has had some back injuries, but so he might be limited during the game. And Jordan Love, he kind of struggles in these big spots. So I don't really have a lot of trust in him to come out week 1 and kind of deliver for the Packers in this game. So I'm taking the Lions here. They got the experience. I like Dan Campbell's culture. I think the loss of Ben Johnson is big, but I think they still can run pretty much the same scheme. They have the players to do so. They have a lot of talent still on that offense. They have offensive line questions, but I think the guys that they replaced with, I think they can hold up, and I think the Lions win this game. I like Amon-Ra and Jameer to each get a touchdown, so Lions plus 1.5 versus the Packers. All right, next game I'm taking the Texans plus 3 versus the Rams. I like the Texans in the spot against Matthew Stafford, who did get an epidural, and he's been dealing with back injuries throughout the entire offseason. He's been not practicing, which is concerning. He's expected to play, so good luck against this Texans D-line. Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, Derek Stingley Jr. in the backfield, not backfield, in the secondary. They're just stacked, man, and tough matchup for Stafford week 1. He's going to be dealing with a lot of pressure. There are a lot of questions on the Texans offensive line, but I think they can get the ball out, and Nico Collins is a beast, and I think he can make a few plays. They got Nick Chubb running the ball, so I like the Texans in this spot. I think they win and cover plus 3 versus the Rams. All right, Sunday Night Football. I'm going with the Bills plus 1.5 versus the Ravens. This line was minus 1.5. The Bills were favored, and now the Ravens are. So I'm taking the Bills plus 1.5. I think they beat the Ravens like they did in the postseason last year. I just think it's the Bills' year. They're gonna start out with a statement win, and then end with a statement win, holding the Lombardi Trophy. So I think the Bills get off to a fast start, and I think this is going to be a good, really, really good game. I think it'll come down to a field goal at the end. I think the Bills pull away. They get home field advantage, and yeah, I just like the Bills in this spot. All right, last game of week 1, Monday Night Football. I'm going Vikings minus 1.5 over the Bears. I feel like the Bears have been the trickiest team for me to decipher and whether they're going to be good or not. Also the Vikings too. I feel like they fall into the same category, but I've been flip-flopping on the Bears, and first I was not really into them. I didn't think they're going to be that good, and I thought they were going to go 7-10, 8-9. And then I thought, okay, they're probably going to make the playoffs. They just have too much talent and Ben Johnson. And now I'm kind of going with my initial gut reaction, which is I think they might miss the playoffs. But, I'll stick with my pick that they'll make it as the 7th seed. But I'm starting to like the Vikings a little bit more, and that's why I'm picking them here as well. I think they won 14 games last year. They got rid of Sam Darnold willingly because they knew they had J.J. McCarthy, who can pretty much run the same system that he did. I think Kevin O'Connell is the QB whisperer for a reason, and I think they're going to kind of pick up where they left off. There's a reason Aaron Rodgers wanted to come to the Vikings. It's a stacked team. It does concern me that Jordan Addison is out for this game, but they still got Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and Adam Thielen. maybe he'll make some catches. He just got signed about a couple weeks ago, so that's also a little concerning. But they do have one of the best defenses in the league. Brian Flores, their defensive coordinator, likes to disguise a lot of blitzes, and I think that's bad news for Caleb in week 1. So I think the Vikings win this game, and I think it's a good game as well. Excited to see how these teams look. Week 1, first couple games were pretty electric, so it's like Christmas Eve right now. Can't wait for 1 p.m. tomorrow. Should be an exciting football season, and I'll be doing my picks every week, giving you my analysis, and we'll see how many I get right and wrong, and then I'll give you my updated standings at the beginning of every week pick. So these are my picks for week 1, and football season is here. Excited to watch the games tomorrow, and I'll see you next episode. Thanks for listening to the Spinning Rock Podcast. You can follow me at Oots135 on Instagram. You can follow the podcast at Spinning Rock Pod on Instagram. And until next time. Peace.